turn on your mic then.
I will.
Sorry.
I was trying to get the shuffling down on.
We will open our meeting at 7:05. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We will start with the acceptance of our minutes.
February 19th.
Well, what about the January?
We did it last month
Oh.
at the February meeting.
February, yes. I did have a comment.
Yes.
Page 2.
No, that's the one thing I don't have. 1,900 other papers.
Okay.
I just wanted to add a statement for clarification at the end of, before the bold, before you say, right here. After the sentence before you put,
Investment committee one?
yeah,
That is,
page 2.
no.
It's on mine, it's page 2.
Yeah, but it's,
I have it.
there's it's on, mine's on page 1. Okay, let me see it.
This is, you got the right month, February?
Yeah. I'm going to approve donation requests. Yeah. Donation request guidelines. Yeah, that's the one. And so what did you want to add to it?
Okay, for clarification, that this will be added to the guidelines for financial management of the library. That's the document it's going to. That just clarifies what this is referring to.
This will be added to the what?
Guidelines for financial management of the library.
Guidelines.
That's where it will live.
For financial.
Management of the library.
Yeah, I can't hold a thought.
Is your mic on, Karen?
Yep.
Okay. Let the light goes off.
Of library funds.
Okay.
It just sort of clarifies where it's going.
Hmm?
I think that was my only, oh, yeah, I think that was my only comment. Does anyone else have any comments on the the February minutes?
No.
I can add that sentence as a correction, and it doesn't change.
That doesn't change
So,
the meaning or
right,
anything.
so
About.
we could,
No other comments? I move that we accept the minutes with the correction or addition.
A second.
All in favor? Okay. So much for our minutes.
okay.
Okay. We have the non-public. We do the non-public for January as well. For some reason, I had them with my stuff. We did this one. We approved this one already?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Okay, then we move on to committee updates. Friends of the Merrimack Public Library, the fundraising arm of the library.
Did you go? Because that last month was the one I missed.
Did I go? No.
Somebody else went. You were there? Yeah. That's the meeting I missed, I believe.
Oh, because you were away, right?
Yeah, I was in LA at the time.
I don't have minutes from them. No idea what we talked about. It was probably a very regular meeting with nothing glaring because, but I don't have minutes from them. They
Okay.
don't send that out.
Fair enough, yeah.
But Friends are meeting on Monday,
Yes.
so.
Are you going to that meeting?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm still going to stay involved with the Friends
okay,
after I'm done with the Trustees.
okay, all right, very good.
I like the book sales.
There you go.
Motivation. Merrimack Public Library Development Fund. The, what are you calling it?
That's different.
It's a different, okay.
That's down here under other.
Okay, so that is not meeting, as far as we know. The Library Building Development and Marketing Committee is on a hiatus, the Town Center Committee.
Town Center Committee does not have a meeting till the end of this month now.
Okay. Committees, Personnel Committee, we are going to be scheduling the evaluation of the director before the election. That's about all that's going on there. Building Maintenance Committee has not met, and the Investment Committee has not met. Any comments about the committees right now?
Nope.
Okay.
You just went a little fast. The Town Center Committee, end of the month, then what did you say for the other three?
The other committees haven't met. There's no agenda there.
All right.
New business? Is there anything to go under new business? I didn't think so. Yeah. Treasurer's report? Oh, I can back up a moment and say we do have an updated maintenance list from the library on the maintenance issues going on, but there's nothing to really say too much about that.
That's usually in the report, in the
Yeah,
director's
it's
report.
in the director's report anyway, yeah. Okay, treasurers.
Okay, so I'm on the balance sheet.
Oh, yes. Let me make sure I circled the right ones.
And that's special, right.
That's the one that cut off on me. Again. Did it last month.
All
too.
right. So starting in fines, we started with a beginning balance of $13,406.21. We ended with $12,951.73. Karen, you good?
I circled the right number, the correct numbers for that. Now the next one I don't know about.
Okay.
Specials. Yeah.
With special, it's $14,473. That was the beginning balance as of February. And the ending balance is $13,858.48. It's so funny.
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
Because I almost made some of the middle accounts into special. So, and then I actually read the headings and fixed it all by myself. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Comments on that? Okay. I have a couple other things that I wanted to bring up. Put down, so I have to really see it. The items that I put right in front of you, that I sent out right before we started, these three things. We have one fund, we have one fund that's special in Fidelity. It is called the Fidelity Fund. It's one of the three that I sent you. The overall rating you can see is a 2. It has a 2-star. That doesn't even meet our criteria. It's also not performing very well. I want to move the money. All I did is keep the risk category the same, but I upped the overall rating and upped the returns. But like this Fidelity Fund is a large cap growth, so I kept it as large cap growth. And then the other two funds that I sent you essentially show the overall rating as both 5 stars. The return, the Blue Chip Growth Fund has the 5 blocks to say it has high returns versus the 4 in the composite. The 4, however, says has lower expenses. compared to the blue chip that has 2 blocks as opposed to 1 block. Again, they're both, all 3 of them have the same risk. And all 3 of them are in large growth. These other 2, either one, are performing significantly better than the Fidelity Fund. All I want to do is move the money.
From
How
where
much
to where?
money?
Excuse me?
From where to where?
From the Fidelity Fund, preference for me is NASDAQ.
That looks, based on just surface alone, it looks like a better option.
So,
Well,
Is the amount of money what's on the second page?
no, I didn't put, the amount of money is like 12 grand. So
About
it's not worth
$12,000.
It's not worth splitting.
That's what I was gonna say, half and half,
Yeah,
so,
it,
and just go into, but for, if it's
Yeah.
$12,000 isn't worth it,
not worth it.
then you're just thinking that the least risk, highest performing should be the one that gets it, and the one that's rated best.
They're both rated the same. It's neither
Well, the
here nor there.
composite has low expenses,
Right, it has lower expenses.
right.
So, but even there, like the averages in terms of the 1, 3, 5, 10 are comparable. Everything is comparable to either one of these.
the one thing I notice is if 3 years or less, the blue chip seems to be doing better. But if, over 3 years, the NASDAQ looks like the better option.
I was thinking the same thing. Also has lower expenses. And it's a little more diverse.
Yeah, I liked
Yes.
some of the things on the NASDAQ better.
And since it doesn't sound like the trustees is, we don't have plans for this money right now,
No,
so.
exactly. I just want to
I'd
get
say
something. I
NASDAQ
mean,
is a better option in my opinion.
yeah, that was,
It's a little more dispersed than the blue chip in its portfolio. So what are you asking us to do?
I would just like to move the money from the Fidelity, essentially or trade the Fidelity Fund
Now you've got the
Yeah.
lingo.
and buy the NASDAQ composite.
Okay, so you want to make a motion?
Sure. I would like to make a motion to sell the Fidelity Fund,
The current balance of the,
Fund,
Of
which
the
is, I can
Fidelity
get
Fund.
it, and buy into the Fidelity NASDAQ.
sell that
composite
and buy
index.
this.
I'll second that.
And buy the, please name it.
The Fidelity NASDAQ Composite Index.
Okay. Did you second it,
I
Rick?
will second that, yes.
Did you get that?
I will in a second.
Same answer as Eddie Murphy.
Okay,
Right.
should I should put, about 12,000.
I'm gonna look it up.
You should put the exact,
Yeah, I'm getting,
because it's money.
Yeah,
She's
I'm
going to
getting
get
it right now.
okay.
Okay, as of today, it is 12,319, you can see it, 12,319 and 79 cents.
At the time of this meeting. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
And so that's the
At
close of,
7:20 PM.
yeah, and it's, so it'd be the close of March 19.
Mhm. Yep. Got it.
Anything else?
Do we have to vote on it?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. All in favor? Motion passes.
500.
Money. Thank you, guys. Let me just check if that was the only thing Oh, yeah, the Watson Trust.
Yes.
That matures on March 31st.
Oh.
It's going to be around $250. I won't know until the dividend comes through for what specifically it is, but it's around $250. It's currently sitting in a one-year CD at DCU. Again, it matures on the 31st. We have a couple options. We can leave the money there and just reinvest it. Take the money and we can do a longer CD.
What's the interest rate on that?
2.7 for 24 months. It's less than that for 12
And
months.
what's the year, what was the year? What was the interest rate on the year?
It's 1.9.
So it's pretty close. I don't see any advantage of going longer. We can withdraw and spend it, right?
Just the interest, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yes, we
two fifty
can.
interest, yeah.
The library has specific things that the money has to be
Yeah.
used for, though.
It was children's?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was
It's
some
like
type of book,
Birds.
Bird books or something, right?
yeah. Something specific.
We have it written down.
So we're
So the
just trying to decide to
$250 is
roll it
the
over.
interest?
It's the
Yeah.
interest.
Are we trying to leave it there and
So does the library
it was in for this many months,
want
we're gonna put it
to
in
use this
and
money
leave it
for that
many
purpose
months.
at this
Well,
time?
It's
or-
up to you.
There's like, I think it's like 20 grand
I would
core
personally,
money. that
because
we
I was
can't
looking at
touch.
this, I would
And this-
keep it there
Okay.
because we
$200.
did a double withdrawal for the trust funds. We took a trust fund distribution in June, July-ish, and then we took one in January,
Ah,
which we are going to be doing next year as well.
mm-hmm.
We're gonna take two distributions, or essentially we're gonna take two distributions next year as well. So, I personally would like to see us just actually either do a 1 year and just look at it for next year, or do a 2 year.
I would go with the 1 year. The interest rate isn't high enough on a 2 year.
It's not getting this to me.
Does
It'll
any-
still be about $250.
Yeah. Does anybody have any thoughts about this?
No.
Questions? Understandings?
But I
You just
figure,
let- you let me near, so I think I'm good.
something about, since we took two distributions, then we should leave this alone, and in a year, look at it again. Why?
Because the
Because,
CD will mature.
well,
I understand, but
so
why would we change it
why would we change what?
in a year? Why would,
Just to look, just to see where we are with it. Give us the option to withdraw if we want it.
so by looking at it now is when we take out the $250?
Now would be, yes.
Ah, that I
The
didn't
CD
understand.
matured.
So once
yeah.
the CD matures, we
Yeah.
can we have access to that $250.
Okay,
We can leave it,
yeah,
or we can take it. If we leave it, it will just grow again till next year if we choose to do another year CD. And then a year from now, when we look at it, it could be somewhere around 500 or something.
but they do something with it.
They do something with it. However,
But they won't get the money if we don't give it to them. I mean, I'm a literal person.
Well, I just asked her
True.
if they felt they needed it, and
Ah,
But-
she wasn't.
exactly.
okay,
We took two distributions from the town,
right.
so, which also goes towards materials in the children's room and some other things for the library here and there.
So they probably won't need it because they're covered by the extra distributions we've taken already from other accounts.
But these are different. The way the donation is written, it's for specific things.
Right.
And things that are from the Lawrence Fund, which is the trust fund, they don't overlap.
They
So
don't
things
know.
that you can purchase with Watson is different from things you can purchase with the trust fund.
But $250 is not going to be really enough to purchase.
It's always the same.
It's always the same. Okay.
You know, if I give the staff money to spend, they will find something to buy.
Absolutely.
So it's just,
Okay.
if you want to, but it's not like these funds or the topics that they can purchase, kinds of books they can purchase overlap. They
Right.
don't.
Okay.
So since there's not a pressing need, we may as well reinvest it in a CD for another year and look at it, right?
Yep.
That's what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
Well, I get one question though, and this might be for Yvette. If we let it roll, so instead of 200 or whatever we have now, we end up, say, with 500, is there something better that we'd be able to purchase within that frame of what we're allowed to buy with it?
That's,
You
you
mean
know,
if we let it accumulate?
I know it's kind of putting you on the spot.
it, you know, that just depends on what's published, you know, on any given year.
Yeah.
So, nope, there's no way of telling.
So should we make a motion and vote on that?
I move that we reinvest the Watson Fund $250 interest for another one-year CD.
The whole thing, including the
The whole-
interest.
The whole thing, yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear, yeah. Do I hear a
Yeah,
second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, operating? Okay, I see.
we have the general ledger, is there any,
Yes.
yes. Are there any comments on this? Need to be on path for this, so. Any questions on this?
Do you know what you're looking at, Jane?
Yeah, I do. I actually was looking at this today, so no, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Are there any, we have the monthly invoices, are there any questions on that?
Wait, let me find.
This one, right? This is just a point of information for myself. So I didn't have time to go back and look. How many? We get these every month, right? And didn't we start them relatively? Did we start them recently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
The Boston Globe, $1,000
Oh, yeah.
for a yearly subscription? Really?
It's expensive.
Mm. This is the second page on the bottom.
I get it for $4, for 4 days a week, and I pay them the nose.
Wow.
But,
That's why we have it at the library.
yeah, I know.
Can the library drive to my house?
You're not open.
Have a second cup of coffee with us. Sorry.
Yeah, I was waiting for that, really.
Wow. I didn't realize it was so much.
It's
Oh, it's a paper you get every day, though?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, maybe that, I'm thinking like once a week in my head. Yeah. And what, just for a point of what is Revistas?
Revistas is the magazine vendor and you know, all of the magazines that are in the building.
Yeah,
So upstairs, downstairs, that's the company that we purchase them through.
oh, I see.
We don't purchase People magazine from people.
Individual, you
No,
purchase
no, no,
it,
no.
yeah.
They put the whole thing
That makes
together.
more sense, yeah. So I'm assuming this was renewal time.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, very good. Any other questions on the invoices? No? Okay. We can move on to the director's report.
So we have several gifts this month, that if you choose, you can vote to accept them. The first one you'll see here, we received donations of the following hardware from Elizabeth O'Hare that the department heads would like to add to, I didn't finish that sentence, add to our, it's not really a collection because they're not cataloged in the same way, but it's, you know, of the items that can be used by patrons. So 2 headsets, 4 USB drives, 1 headset adapter, and one USB adapter.
Are these for public use or for the staff?
That
Yeah,
they said so far
public,
public.
What would the headset adapter and the USB adapter be? What kind of adapters are we talking about?
They're in a bag, and I didn't look at them. I gave them to the staff and said, you look at this, tell me if you want it or no. So I don't know. I just,
Don't get too technical.
I can go back and look, and I can text you later.
You should have brought that bag with you.
I'm a techie, what can I say? I'm
So we have to
curious
vote to
about
accept
this.
that. Right?
I can email you tomorrow when I look in the bag.
And these
Here's a
items would
picture of
be-
it.
With a picture, I'll text you a picture. Yeah.
There you go, that would solve everything. But these would be used only in the library? Right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, headsets, that's always helpful if someone is wanting to listen to, you know, a video or a webinar or something. And then the USB drives, you know, when you are working on a public computer, it doesn't save to the computer, whatever you're working on. So you need to bring your own USB drive, purchase one from us, borrow one from us, and then we can wipe it, you know, so. And the adapter, there's probably, they said they wanted it, so.
Curious what the adapter actually is, 'cause I'm not picturing it in my head.
Well, let's not deliberate on it.
So
I'm
do
good.
we
I'll
vote
make-
to
yeah,
accept
I'll make-
each
Yeah.
one
we can
because
do
they're
the group.
different?
There are one, well, it's one donation.
No, what do you mean, like the donations of the hardware is one, the other donations are bins, like are they, do we,
Well, we're on the first one right now.
I haven't even looked at the bins.
We're on the first
yes, I see that. So
donation.
do we need to make a separate motion just to accept
Yeah.
that one
I'll
on
make
its
the
own?
motion to
Yep,
accept
Rick.
the, hardware.
I will second it.
All in favor? Okay, we will accept the donation.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
We also received a donation of a bin of 20-plus various board games and card games from an anonymous donor. Youth Services and Adult Services Department heads would like to include these in our collection for use in programs and for circulation. One of this summer's teen squads will be working with the staff to package and catalog these items.
Nice.
We currently don't allow, like, the card games that the library has to circulate, do we?
We've, not the current things, but in the past, we have circulated, you know, games, toys. I mean, that kind of thing comes in cycles. So they looked at this set of games and said, wow, we can, you know, if we have them cataloged, we can check them out to use in the building, but we can also have patrons check them out. Which is nice because they're very unusual games.
Really?
Yeah, there's some, I mean, they're a great collection of games, really different. Some of them are European games, so it's just a different kind of
How interesting.
board game. It's not like,
Curious when the next game night's gonna be at the library
the
now.
next game night is this Saturday. I think it's this Saturday. But these will not, I don't think these are gonna be ready.
Unless you want to go catalog them.
But Brendan got like an Atari.
I saw
console.
I saw the Facebook post about that, yes.
He's gonna have that out on Friday with
Might have to
one
break out-
joystick.
I might have to break out some of my Atari games out of my attic to bring down.
Yeah, you should. If you have an extra joystick, then bring
we
it to
go.
us.
I might.
He has one joystick. Anyway, okay, so the board games, if you would like to vote to accept
I
them.
move that we accept these board games to be cataloged for use in programs and for circulation.
Second? We're all in favor? Okay.
And thank you to the anonymous donor.
And then the Friends of the Library, you'll see a list of checks that they donated. To us, $600 for a general donation from the January book sale funds, $466 donation to pay for the lost and or stolen teen books that our staff had talked to the Friends about. That we found this discrepancy after the September book sale. $359.94 donation to reimburse the library for any turkey shoot expenses. And then $92.80 to pay for the January book sale volunteers refreshments. And that all gets deposited.
Okay.
I just have a question about the 466.
Yep.
Mainly because it just, Danielle and I were talking about this today, going over the different accounts between the Friends and us. The 466, it's a reimbursement. It's it's written as a reimbursement,
Mhm.
and or not a reimbursement, a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had damaged a book, it would have gone into fines. And if I had paid for it, it would have gone into fines. So would this money go into fines?
I think I don't have Emily's paperwork here because she had itemized the books that were missing. I'm trying to remember the conversation at the meeting when this happened. She had already started to replace books. And we brought it to the Friends as hey guys, here's something that happened that we noticed after the September book sale. We want to make you aware of it because you were running the book sale. And what can we do to prevent, if there's a theft? That's why we said we're going to open every bag, all the measures that we put in place for January to avoid having anything bought by mistake or just kind of tucked away and stolen. And I think that was her intention of coming to the Friends meeting. And I think it was the reaction of the Friends to say, this is terrible, we want to reimburse you for that. So, I suppose if Emily purchased it and they were reimbursing the library, I'd have to find out if she bought it with regular municipal funds or if she did go ahead and buy using fines to replace, because then it would go into fines
Right,
as a
that
replacement.
was what I was about to ask. Did it come out of the town budget or did it come out of the funds? You don't know, so.
I don't have that.
I got
I don't
nothing.
have that here, no, but I can find out. We can trace this down, sure.
Any other discussion about any of the donations? We'd like to thank all the donors who donated to
We
the
have the
library.
motion to
Vote on the
accept the
Friends.
Friends.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
So I'll make the motion to accept the money from the Friends.
Second, all in favor? Okay. So we would like to thank everyone for donating to the library. Okay, go ahead.
Let me write this out so I know what I'm doing when I get back. Okay.
Okay, you wrote vote to accept nothing this month.
Would you like to make that motion? Why don't you make that motion?
Nothing this month, yes.
Hey, we're fully staffed. We're very happy.
Yes.
Lovely. So, I don't know if you have any questions about the report, but I made a note on a couple of things I wanted to mention. I did have an update on the passport acceptance facility that's under administration, where our tentative start date is April 15th. We have received a lot of forms. We have our I don't know if I can't remember, it's certification letter. Brendan and I are approved, and we have all these official letters, and so now he and I talked about it, and I talked to the passport office and said, okay, so we're really gonna plan for April 15th, and just get everything ready,
So how will it work? Will they approach circulation, or would?
That's what we have to kind of work out the
Work
exact
out the
nuts and bolts,
details.
because it's not like they're gonna approach circulation. They would have to get Brendan or I. And it would work in the same way that when someone wants to have something notarized, they make sure there's a notary in the building. For something like a passport, paperwork, you have to make an appointment with us. And that's really, following the procedures that the other libraries in New Hampshire, Dover, Wadley, they're the ones I had talked to the most over the last year of kind of really seeing what are the logistics of this. And the passport office also requires you, when you send in your application, to put in your times. These services are available during these blocks of times. And that was something Brendan and I had to sit down and go, what's feasible, with the responsibilities that we have? How long does it take to sit with one client? So it really has to be by appointment, but it's by appointment between these available times. So all of that is going to be posted on the website as we get closer to the date. And then we'll tweak as we need to tweak.
What about
But-
fees?
There are established fees, which I did not bring, but there's a fee chart, and that will also be posted on the website. But if you're doing a passport, you send a fee to one place and you give a fee to us, and there are lots of other kinds of fees depending on what your service is. But it's a whole sheet of a chart of various fees.
But they're preset.
Yep, they are. So that's coming up.
I have a question about the digital preservation grant.
Mhm.
It says, since the grant partnerships are becoming broader as we research
Yep.
them. What do you mean?
So Brendan has been researching this grant, and with this grant, it's pretty similar with other grants. Anytime that you can show partnership when applying for the grant, it makes for a stronger grant. So he started to reach out to different organizations in town. He reached out to the Historical Society, met with Anita, found out what the scope of their things that we might digitize are, including, and adding that to the newspapers downstairs that we want to have digitized. And that started to get very big. And he really, we had a conversation, we agreed we should be very careful with this rather than rushing it. And then we also have things that the Chamber of Commerce has that we can digitize, a lot of things that are historical for them. And then it's, kind of a question going out to the town government, what do you have? So it's, as soon as once we went beyond just the library newspaper collection, it became too big,
Yeah.
right away, but also much stronger.
Yeah.
So he said, I'd rather not rush this, and let's just take our time with it. And I said, fine, because you can apply next year too. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So Merrimack Historical Society, and then what were,
definitely the Chamber of Commerce, because I know what we have. It's
yeah.
4, 5, 6 bins of unlabeled photos.
And then, of course, town government has some.
They probably do, but I'm
Yeah.
still reaching out to them
Okay,
to hear back.
just interesting.
Yeah, no, it's pretty exciting. And then the other thing that, I have 2 other things. Hillstown, you had in your packets this sheet that looks like this, tell a library story. So that's just a visual to help explain what I'm going to talk about, or what you see written here. So I go to the Hillstown meeting that's on the first Friday of the month. These are directors. We're organized regionally, so it's big libraries and small libraries in New Hampshire. I'm just on the, oh wow, that's a weird print.
Yeah.
I am looking at, under Library Consortium updates, probably not.
Oh,
Ah, right here. Thank you.
So Lori Fisher is the director of the Baker Free Library in Bow, and she is our ALA rep for intellectual freedom and advocacy. And so she did a presentation called Telling Your Library Story. I had actually been to this boot camp last March, and she was presenting kind of a little more in-depth, or no, it's probably more of an overview to the Hillstown directors. And we were talking about this, and so she offered to do a presentation to any of our staff, and I went back to the library and kind of bounced it off the department heads, and they said, yeah, we'd love to have this training, and I think it's a good time now to have this training, where what ALA has done is they've put together an advocacy training, and, you know, they call it a boot camp, but there is a set procedure, and, you know, there's a logical kind of researched structure to talk about the library, so that we can see how the library and the library services and the skills that the library staff have can support an issue in town. So this is kind of a little example of, you know, Caden was 3, he stuttered, the library offered Read to Dogs program, Caden doesn't stutter anymore, and hundreds of libraries offer Read to Dog programs. And then the phrases at the bottom are the ones that the ALA would like to have library staff, supporters, trustees, friends, whoever's going to be trained in advocacy, use these phrases, because they have studied and researched that, you know, it takes so many times for you to hear a message before you really hear the message. And so here's, you know, libraries transform lives. So that's just something that, you know, I think we're ready to kind of embark on this kind of project to get the staff trained. I have to set a date with Lori, depending on her availability, and then one of our staff, Brittany, has also been trained as a boot camp instructor. So I asked her if she would be willing to present to the boards, you, Friends, Development Fund, and she said she would love to. So we're just going to have to kind of schedule that also, and then everyone will kind of be walked through the exact same presentation. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone understands what the process is and what the thought behind it is, and then we can kind of start to put these little stories together. It's very good training. It's
Yeah, and you talked about this like a year ago.
I did talk about it a year ago, but
Because I was going to tell my library story, because I have a good one.
what's your library story?
My library story is that going to the library and using the library's computers helps me get a job.
Nice.
Well, there you go. I hear that a lot. That's a great story, and we all have stories as patrons, because I have a story as a patron too. But this is shifting the main character of the story away from the library, and how does the library play a supporting role in the issues that are going on in town. You know, and it's there's a lot of reasons why, and there's no way to go into all of it. But one example that I could maybe offer is, so over the past year, the Conservation Committee needed some help with collecting some images for maps that exist in town about different property that is like for public use. And it was a large project, and it was brought to the town department heads, and this immediately, to me, sounds like a cataloging project, because you're gathering information and you're arranging it in a certain way so that it can be accessed. So I offered our services, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the library. It was just, how can the library support a project in town or an issue in town? And it just makes the town better. You know, so Emily, Brittany, and I met with someone in the committee. We were given our assignments. Things were, you know, on our list of, okay, you grab these properties, uploaded and sent over to the committee, and then, you know, we helped them with their work. You know, it's not a finished project yet, but it was nice. It was good. But that's the kind of thing that the ALA is encouraging libraries and communities to start to do. You know, how can the library really transform communities? You know, let's think about it in a different way, in a bigger way. So that's just kind of a little bit long, but look forward to the training. It's very excellent, and I look forward to having Brittany present to you. The other thing is, you asked for a strategic plan update.
Oh, yes. Can I ask one more? Can I back up
Yes.
a page? Just a quick question.
Yes.
Under administration, children, excuse me, children room window project proposal.
Yep.
My comment isn't specifically to the window project. My comment is, it's the same group that would do, like Turnstone did the DPW building, it's the same group that's going to do
Yes.
ours.
Yes.
As I was driving by that building, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to look in that building and see their work?
Which building are you
The
talking about?
DPW building.
Oh, okay.
Like if they're the people who
Oh.
are just,
I understand.
as a, you know,
I know Kyle has mentioned, to the town department heads that he's planning an open house.
Like
I
that,
don't know
okay.
if there's a date yet,
okay.
but you could always,
That's sort of what I meant. It would be nice to
I'll let you-
see what
yeah.
what they've done.
Yeah.
And they've done stuff around other communities.
yeah, I mean, when he has the open house,
Okay.
you know, I'll make sure you know, and then you can, you know, because they'll do all the tour of the.
Yeah,
entire
well, I'd probably go to that anyways, but I
Oh,
just
sure.
thought it would be nice since it's a company that we're gonna work with too. Even though I know that's through the town.
Okay. Okay, so strategic plan, I gave you some packets.
Oh, is that what that was?
That is what that, do you have it?
Yes,
Because that's what that was.
I do. I had my previous one marked up, actually, and this one now.
Okay. Do you have it?
I left it at home.
Oh, Rick, what am I gonna do with you?
Then you're
Here,
just
I'll-
gonna have to listen very
I'll let
closely.
you share mine.
Okay, so in terms of an update, when you,
Oh, this is great.
Oh,
yeah, when you look at an update, I mean, we have, the goals, the service priorities that starts on my page 12. I think it's still page 12 because when I started to work on this other thing with the red ink, it was a different document. But, so it's really just, you know, here are the goals that we set several years ago, and then we're trying to see what's the measurable outcome. And when the strategic plan was written, the print in black is, here's what we think is going to be the results of things that we're doing, addressing the service priorities and these goals, and you need to have a measurable outcome. So my print in red is the update, basically, is hopefully measurable. I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, so let me just so the first one was, we would see more visits in person and virtual. So generally, we've been increasing our digital holdings a bit each year, which makes it more convenient for our patrons to use our resources remotely. So we wanted to see more virtual visits to our website and to our services through the website. The physical library visits, you'll see I did a comparison of right before the plan, 11-12. We had 116,199 visits to the building. And then this last fiscal year, 17-18. I know, I found it after I had to go back and get a different spreadsheet, so I'll repeat it. 116,199.
Okey-doke.
That's 11-12. And then 17-18 was the door count, 95,986. So we're really the same as all the other libraries in New Hampshire and in the United States, where the door count is lower, but the virtual visits are way up. So, and we expected that as a trade-off. So the database usage for 11-12 was 22,954. And then in 17-18, the database usage is 65,804.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
3 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was an outcome. We see that, okay, we met that goal.
Do we have the same number of databases as we?
That's, you know, it's probably very close that
Yeah.
we do. It's probably very close that we
I
do.
mean, we didn't triple a number of databases, clearly.
No, and, you know, there's a little difference in how we purchase the databases, because we used to purchase something called you know, it was a grouping, like when you go to a restaurant, you're saying, I'm gonna have this grouping of food, or I'm gonna order à la carte. As a consortium, we used to purchase databases more as a group, and then over certainly since I've been the director, that's gone away. and kind of dissolved, and now everyone is just purchasing databases à la carte. What the state offers is, there's probably not a lot of change in terms of what the state is offering for databases, because we buy individually and we buy with the state as that group. But I can go back and look at lists to see what did we have, a couple years ago. So we also said that we would have more circulations. The numbers, these are going down, and this is circulation of physical items. So again, you have to kind of balance it off with the electronic usage. So circulation in 11-12 was 256,146. 17-18 is 206,426. More residents opening accounts. So this is kind of, how many people in Merrimack have library cards. So 11-12 was 11,575. Last fiscal year, 17-18, we had 14,102 card holders. So that's definitely an improvement, but it's also, they're probably, they could be buying or getting cards because they want to access this online material.
Right.
Or check out.
And we have no way of those statistics, are those broken out by town? So, like the state library,
The population go up or down or?
It should be a percentage.
libraries, like Cloud and like.
Oh, yeah, no,
Well,
I'm
she
sure we
said
have a lot of
Working
statistics.
there.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know,
Okay.
but
We've
it's,
been promoting to the businesses
Sure.
too.
sure.
What?
We're talking about the number being kind of tied to the population.
The card holders,
Yeah.
the population.
Of the,
Well,
of the
It's what,
town,
26,
right?
27,000, something like that in
There's
Merrimack.
only a fixed number of people in town, so.
Sure, but,
Population versus from 2011-12 to the population of 17-18. That's all.
oh.
So
Sure, but one of the things that we found during the phone study, or the phone survey, was most people in Merrimack had a library card but didn't use the library. Which, there are many reasons why you have a library card,
Well, even if you go in just one time to get the library card, because whatever reason you want to use it, you may never step through the library door again.
Yeah.
Potentially.
but we're still gonna work on it. More community partnerships, So, as with the programs, there's an ebb and flow to this. Since I work a lot with the town staff, I definitely see a more congenial relationship across departments. When I've run into town councilors at random places, the interactions are always very warm and appreciative about the library. And I think that's really good. That's really important. A few businesses who want to work with us have included Merrimack Post Office. You remember they did the commemorative stamp with us. The Lions Club, they were selling their scarecrows in front of the library on certain Saturdays between October and September. Receiving DCU grants of increasing amounts, home delivery with SJCS, working with Merrimack Games and
JCS is,
St. Joseph Community Services. Merrimack Games and Comics, doing programs with them. They also were helping us curate our comics collection for kids when we first started doing that. Hosting the Michael Laver Memorial Foundation commuter clinics on site. The Michael Laver Memorial Foundation used to host the computer clinics up at the O'Leary Center, but we invited them to come down to the library, and so that's going to be on the last, I believe it's the last Saturday in March. 30th, yeah.
30th.
Parks and Rec, working with Parks and Rec Department, doing program collaborations. And then, yes, we have had 3 floods in the last 3 years, but, the other departments in town have been really supportive of us, helping us navigate the insurance stuff. And, on very short notice, Parks and Rec allowed us to move some programs for the summer to their locations at Watson Park. So that's been very helpful. It's kind of the silver lining, I think, in some of the sadder things that have happened. Public Works has been great, assisting with the parking lot and the sidewalk repair and working with the vendors for us, and then installing the book drop. That was the actual Public Works crew that came out to do that. They also put up this kind of yellow post in front of the book drop because they didn't want anyone to hit it.
Oh.
They kind of showed,
Good call.
they mentioned it and then they just showed up and it was
Yes.
there. You know, so, but you know, they were contacting DigSafe for us. We really didn't have to do anything. I had to sign off on the book drop and I never touched it. So it was really wonderful, and they did such a beautiful job. And then they did all the landscaping with the grass around it and cleaned out a lot of brush, and it was great. Working with finance department, assisting with children's room windows, we were just talking about that. The budget conservation committee mapping project, I actually just mentioned that to you. So, you know, more community partnerships, you know, I think, you know, in terms of working with the town, we're got a much better relationship with the town. You know, I think when we're doing things like fundraising for summer reading or the turkey shoot, we definitely have, you know, a positive response from people. They want to collaborate with us. You know, I'm continuing on the chamber board and still putting the library kind of out there in the public. So I think that's very positive, and we want to continue that. Evidence of improved quality of life and lifelong learning. So, you know, this is a little bit hard to measure because we can see how many people attended programs or how many programs we might have had, but we don't have these narratives, which is where that sheet comes in for the ALA advocacy. So I've always asked the staff to gather these narratives, but I don't think they really understood how to gather them. So now this is kind of this very structured thing. I think probably a lot of libraries were struggling with, you know, how to really capture these stories about how we might have changed your day. It's not even changed your life, but man, how do we make your day great? So I think, you know, I hear stories every now and then. You guys probably hear stories every now and then, but we really want to we need them for the future. So that's something that we haven't really gotten, but in terms of the programs, you know, the children's programs are down, and it looks like they're down quite a bit. We are counting our programs differently. In 11-12, we actually counted the make and take crafts that were on the table. That can or cannot be, depending on your interpretation, it can or cannot be counted as a passive program. We've decided we don't want to count those as a passive program anymore. It's just a different kind of interaction with the library. So, and on the state statistical report, there are very strict definitions about what a program is, and the definitions are even becoming more complicated and strict. So that's kind of coming down the pike, but we stopped counting crafts. You know, so that's the change. And we did a lot of crafts for make and take, you know, but now we're just not counting them anymore. So moving forward, you're not going to see this drastic change. It's going to be much more
So programs
helpful.
would be story times.
When the staff interacts with a patron, that's one definition of a program. However, there's yet another definition of a program that's being debated in library statistic land. The people who create the state report to collect statistics define what they want. You know, they define this is the kind of statistic we want. So the definition of a program is now moving to when it's like educational. So if we had a speaker come in, that's one kind of program. If there were, it was a little bit ridiculous, but it was like, if you come to listen to a lecture from a speaker, that's one kind of program. If he has a Q&A after, that counts as a second program, because they're different. I'm just saying, we had this presentation, I've seen 3 different presentations from the data librarian up at the state library, and he's very fabulous. But we had the same reaction as librarians going, what? Because that's one program. We're gonna have a speaker and he's, or she is, of course, gonna have a Q&A, that's part of it. But they're like, no, the committee, and this is a statewide, national, representatives from each state coming and kind of haggling it out of, how are you going to define a program? Which age groups, and we said we want to put in the record, in the state report, the teen stuff. We want to start, there's certain areas that we want to start counting and start to see, progression over the couple of years that, we're looking, hopefully we're improving in different services. So, that's just kind of like an example of, there's a lot of data and we collect everything and we can find whatever number you are interested in. But, there's certain changes and it's all about the definition.
So it sounds like programming numbers could be affected by what the definition is this year versus the definition next year.
Another example that came up in these discussions was meeting room. So the meeting rooms, we have meeting rooms, and how do you count the meetings? Well, we have library meetings, we have library programs, we have different groups coming in to use the meeting rooms, and each of those are counted different. There was one library in this one, in Hillstown, we were actually having the presentation at Hillstown, and there's a library that says, I don't have a meeting room, but people come to the library and they meet, and they're meeting at a table, because I just have a table. Can I count that? Because it's a meeting, and it's showing that people are coming to the library and using the space, rather than going to a restaurant or something like that. And it's like, she can't mark that it's a meeting because it's not in a room.
Oh, my goodness.
It's not in a defined closed
Closed.
room.
It's, do you have a meeting room? How many meetings do you have in this room?
That's too bad.
So the question needs to change, because we could go through the library and say, I have tutors at this
Yeah,
table, I've got a
exactly.
group over here, and we could count that too. We don't count that, but it's use of the space. We only count what's in a room.
Wow.
So, yes.
But would you
So-
collect them anyways, just for your own?
Well, that's a good question, because anytime, you can collect any kind of statistic, but what are you gonna do with it?
Well, I was thinking in this case, if you have the tutors,
Sure.
for example, if they're out in the open, at some point, wouldn't it be nice to be able to offer them an enclosed space? Because it would be
That's
more
a different,
private to tutor, et cetera.
possibly. However, that opens up another can of worms.
Okay.
Because our meeting rooms, by the policy, are offered, and it's ranked for different things, but they're offered for nonprofits. If I'm a tutor, I am now a
Oh,
for-profit.
okay, got it.
So we're actually updating, I have Joanne working on the meeting room policy to update it, and I emailed out, to the directors for Urbans and GMILK saying, can you tell me your policies for the meeting rooms, and do you charge, and under what conditions do you charge for it? And Dover wrote back to me today and said, we don't charge for tutors because it's connected to education. But another library is going to say, we do charge for tutors. But another it really depends on what meeting rooms are available. And I think it's something, if we move forward with any kind of renovation to the library, and that floor plan, the space study, had all these small study rooms in the lower level. Those are meeting rooms that can be booked by a small group for tutoring. And then the question is, and I don't have the policy for you yet to debate, but it's going to be something that the board's going to have to look at the pros and cons of. At what point do we charge for what kind of thing, for a meeting room? Because some libraries do for certain things, and some libraries like us, we never charge. But it's something to consider. It's like any other policy. Let's look and see, is it time to change it? What's the pros and cons? What are the conditions we've done? But that's kind of like a little, so but back to my point, or back to your question, you can collect any kind of statistic you want, but what are you gonna do with
Right,
it?
so you have to decide why you're
Sure.
collecting it and what you're
Sure.
gonna do with it.
Sure, but walking through and counting how many people are tutoring, sure, I find all of it interesting, it's just, at what point are we gonna show it? And we report to the state, and we report in the town report, it's there. And the department heads and I, we're all looking at all of the kinds of statistics we've collected for, how many years, and are these still useful statistics to collect, and what else should we be collecting? I mean, we have this conversation every month, you know, and I'm not the one physically looking and doing the hash mark. They are, you know, because I'm on the desk only a certain amount of time, but it's really, you know, are you gonna, you know, how many times are we notarizing? That's a hash mark, you know. It's a really neat topic. It gets very detailed.
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
So you can see that teen programs are up and adult programs are up by quite a bit, which is great because we really were targeting, you know, our children's programs. We know that we have really strong children's programs, but we were really trying to reach out to the teens and then to adults.
Where would the all ages programs, like, the game nights technically like all
No,
ages?
game nights.
Is that
Game nights. I'd have to see how it is on the sheet.
Isn't it advertised as family game night?
It's advertised as family game night, but Brendan and Emily trade off which department pays for it each month. So I'd have to see if they're doing that with the statistics as well, or if that just goes into another.
So is that how you would
program.
count it as a statistic, switch between the two?
I'd have to find out what they're doing. So
Because if it's an all ages, would it be adult? Would it be teen? Would it be children?
I don't know.
Would it be all three?
I'll look. I can go look. The collection, so this was quality of life and lifelong learning. Collection was in desperate need of weeding and updating because our shelves and physical space were overcrowded and unappealing. We initially weeded 10% of the collection to be able to create more seating through the building and in the Lowell room and create it as a meeting room. Now we should be on a fairly regular maintenance cycle throughout the collection, so that's really good. And I think when I've talked to people kind of randomly, they're very complimentary about the space, which is nice to hear. It's the library space.
Oh, just in general.
Oh, you have oh, this is a nice library. And it's like, wow. And you have to stop yourself from saying, well, you should have seen it before when it was this crowded, you know, because that's not what you say. It's just, thank you. Yeah, we had a meeting. I had a meeting with our health insurance reps, and they wanted to talk about the 3D printer, you know, and they were fascinated with that. So we finished our meeting, and then we went out, and I said, okay, let me go show it to you. They just were fascinated by it, you know, so that's fun. Looking at the holdings for print, video, audio, so these are the physical collections. You know, this is still part of that major, you know, the 10% weed. So again, tidying up and tightening. We do not have VHS tapes anymore or cassette tapes anymore, that kind of thing. We did. New services that we offer now: Notary Public, Justice of the Peace, creation of self-holds, a new copier, self-sign-in on computers. That used to be on a paper, sheet of paper with a clipboard. Passport acceptance facility will start in April. The drive-up book drop, in-house laptop use, 3D printer, seismograph. New materials, which are the electronic stuff: Hoopla, Flipster, Freegal Music. And then physical things like cake pans and the different kits that we have that circulate. Building improvements, you'll see listed here: children's room, teen space, magazines, roof restoration, north window, refurbishment of Lowell windows, Lowell room and adult collection relocation, general paint updates, relocation of circulation desk, updated reader board sign, general brightening of the outdoor entrance and grounds, and repaving the parking lot. So this is everything. You know, I became the director in 2012. So this is all.
And this report really, the strategically is 2014 to 220.
Well, I had to go back to before
Right,
the
right.
questions, sure. Yeah, the phone survey was 2013.
Get lots of compliments on the new sign, by the way.
Yeah.
People walk up to you,
Yeah.
up to me,
Yeah.
and tell me how terrific the sign is.
I have people, someone, I don't remember who told me, like, it was probably last week, who said, I didn't know you had this program, but now I see that it's on the sign. I said, yeah, we've had that program we always have this program. I never saw it before. I never read it.
Their use of color is very good because it
sign.
really captures your attention when you drive
Yeah.
by.
Gets your attention a lot better than the old sign did. 'Cause
Yeah.
It does.
Noticing when I drive by it, you know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
jumps at
I
you.
find I'm always reading it, you know.
Well, Joanne makes all the slides, so
They're very good.
she's experimenting with a lot of things. She's doing a good job.
But it's the color that captures my attention. I
Yes.
see that out of the corner of my eye,
Yeah.
that draws me in.
Oh, yeah, no, she's
But
very good.
it's part of the wall. It doesn't, it's not screaming, I'm a sign.
Yeah.
It's kind of like part of the wall.
Oh, she thinks about the color. She definitely,
Gets your attention.
Yeah.
It pops.
It does,
you know.
it does.
Well, I guess what you're trying to say, it's not intrusive.
That's, right,
It's
yeah,
not
it's
intrusive.
like it's part of the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am trying to say that it's
Well, to me, the old sign was part of the wall, because I just
ignored
drove by
it.
it, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
half
black
the
and
time I
white.
didn't even
Wasn't
realize
as
what was on it.
noticeable.
Yeah.
But now I notice what's on there.
Me too.
yeah, we've had several requests from different groups to put their things on the sign, and, we don't. We can't. There's no way. Our stuff would never show up. But there is a policy about that. Okay, so last thing, sustainable financial commitment from community and local government without a future risk. So this was, again, the measurable outcome. So I thought it would be interesting to go back and look at what the library budget has been since 11-12, and then the one that we proposed for 19-20. And, 13-14, we dipped below $1 million. There was a big cut. And then, fortunately, we've increased every year since then. And the budget we submitted for next year is 1.3 million. And I'm hoping that's, kind of a evidence of some confidence in the library and what we're doing. So that's, that's nice. I don't think there's ever, I don't think we ever want to stop. We always want to keep moving forward and looking forward and trying new things and thinking ahead. So I don't think there's I don't think we need to rest. I'm not a believer in, kind of sitting on your laurels and saying, well, we're finished. No, we're never finished. Library is an organic organization, and our patrons' needs are constantly changing, and we need to stay ahead of the curve, if anything. So, any questions? Is that what you were looking for in terms of a little update? I mean,
So, thank you very
okay.
much. That really helped to bring everybody up to speed on
Okay.
what's going on. Yeah.
You'll see that the detail, I gave you these very kind of long packets of things. That was really just so you could see, not just based on what I was reporting, but that we did have charts that were tracking specific goals and the years that we were trying to hit, and we did very well. I think we've hit them. So my recommendation to the department heads is to review what we had as goals. Goal 1, be a cultural and educational center, and so on, and ask them, do you still think this is a viable goal for the library?
You're talking about for the next strategic
Yes.
plan? Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot easier to write, in my opinion. But I think we just don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just say, do we still want to keep these goals? Do we want to change any goals?
Yeah.
Do you want to add any goals?
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
Very
This
welcome.
is
This is
exactly what I had
This is
in
a lot
mind.
this is my fun wheelhouse, so I love
You
this
can
kind of
see
stuff.
that. When you write things that you are like excited about or passionate about, I could feel the difference
You could feel
in
it.
how you have that way of
Oh, thank you. No, but
writing things that
thank
I
you.
go, yep.
As long as it's clear, that's the most important thing, is that it's clear. But, okay, so I don't have anything else for my director's report unless you had any other questions. That's it.
Anybody have any questions? Any comments? No? Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Yvette. That was very helpful to bring everyone up to speed on what's
Welcome.
going on, and
Oh,
the
wait,
statistics were very
could I ask-
informative. Yes?
On the third packet with all the columns.
Yes.
What's the difference between a check and an X?
Check is done.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just wanted to
Check is done,
Done.
and we're not gonna look at it
Okay.
anymore.
You probably just said that, so I apologize.
I think I had a legend in it, but that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other business, Stibler Space Program, the joint board officers are meeting tomorrow tomorrow, right?
No, they're meeting on Thursday. I have,
Today's,
today's
yeah,
Tuesday.
yeah, Thursday they're
Today's
meeting, the
Tuesday.
20th.
Today's the 19th. They're meeting
Yeah,
on
the 21st, sorry. Thursday.
Yeah, so I have the minutes from the meeting. I don't know if you brought the minutes from the meeting?
No, I
Hillary?
didn't.
Okay. Do you want me to?
No, please go ahead.
Okay,
On what date?
Thursday, the 21st this month.
it's
That's
on your
the prior
calendar.
meeting, right?
This month.
We, joint board officers meeting met on February 20th at 7 PM.
And the joint board officers means the
I-
trustees, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, were you gonna say that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's the chair and treasurer for Trustees, Friends, Development Fund Committee, and me.
Mhm.
I take the minutes.
Yeah, and, and you, what,
I can give this
didn't
to
you have a acronym? I can't
I
remember it.
suggested a different, I'm gonna suggest a different acronym that you can
Okay.
vote to accept. How about that?
Oh.
Let me do this first. and then I'll mention it.
Absolutely.
So we heard back from Bill Cummings, who had visited the Haldimand County Caledonia Center located in Ontario, Canada. It's a community center, multi-use building which houses the Caledonia Library branch. He showed us videos, he did a tour through the building, and we talked about it. Some of the things that we talked about was how everything in the building is sponsored or named. Haldimand County includes several towns with a population of 45,608. That was the 2016 census. There are no fees to use this building. Community center houses youth programs, monitored arts and crafts, recreation. Building included a hockey rink and a library. Library's in the quiet
Awesome.
part of the building.
Sorry.
We talked about the space study. Tomorrow or Thursday, when we get back together, we're going to be hearing some updates. Everyone in the committee had a task about kind of reaching out to potential partners just to get some ideas of, is this something you would be interested in? So, yeah, but the
Yeah,
conversation
that's
will
where we're at, yeah.
conversation will continue. And we're going to look over the strategic plan, community aspirations, and community visioning. That was in the other packet that you didn't have. So here's a suggestion for a name instead of joint board officers. I was at Hillstown, the last time when we were doing this advocacy boot camp training, and I was talking to Betsy Solon, who is the director at the Wadley Library in Milford. And she said their group, same thing, their group is called the Library Expansion Task Squad. And the acronym is LETS.
Less?
LETS.
Yes,
let's-
I saw that in the, yeah.
LETS.
Library.
Like, let's do it.
Yep. Mhm.
Would you read
Well-
the full thing? I got
Library.
the acronym, but what is it? The
Library Expansion Task Squad.
I got it.
Instead of the, LBDMC, I mean, you can choose to do away with the LBDMC and just say we're having a task squad that instead of joint boards.
Well, perhaps the joint board should name themselves.
Well, they named themselves Kevin.
They did.
My husband looked at my calendar and goes, "Who's Kevin?"
That's what I have on mine, it's Kevin meeting.
I said, "That's not, it's joint boards, I'll change it."
Need to change that, yeah.
JB, I
Doesn't
like
make
that.
any
JB, right?
Kevin
Joint
at
boards.
7 o'clock. I'm meeting with Kevin. No, I'm not meeting with Kevin.
Oh,
I like
gosh.
Kevin.
Look, your husband say, "Oh, why? What's all this about Kevin?"
It wasn't that.
Kevin
It
here.
wasn't in that tone,
Yeah.
but
Could have
This is
been.
Kevin. What are you doing tonight with Kevin?
You're gonna sit in your office.
Okay,
With a whole
I've
bunch
got
of
it in the
women.
minutes now, because I couldn't remember for the life of me. I remembered Kevin, but I couldn't remember anything
I can bring it
else.
up Thursday. I'll
Yeah,
bring it up
that probably would,
Yep. So that's the update.
okay.
Unless anyone, you guys were both there. If you have anything to add.
Thank you, it's very good, thank you.
Okay.
Trustee goals, basically, the goal we have met is we did do a feedback questionnaire, and that will be utilized this year. That's all the update on the trustee goals, really. So we can move on to the policy review.
Okay. So there's two
Yeah.
documents that go together, the collection development policy and then the request for reconsideration of library resources.
I thought this was well done and well put together and succinct, and it seemed to cover all the area. What is all that noise?
It's probably a custodian
Going to the restroom.
going in the restroom.
It seemed to cover all the
Yeah.
topics that needed to be
Mhm.
covered, and I don't think there's anything.
The,
I didn't,
Collection development?
collection development policy, yeah.
Right in my hand.
I didn't, nothing jumped out at me that needed any attention or anything. I thought it was well done. And I like that it says what the purpose of the policy is up there for the first one.
Oh, I just had one.
Yeah.
Informational question.
Mhm.
The materials that are in relation to the town histories.
Yep.
If a person wanted to actually look at those, they would come into the library and look at them there. Like they cannot be removed from the library.
At this
right?
point, no, they can't. However, Brendan and I are going to next year, we're not going to do it this year, but next year I asked him that we should put it on our goals, that he and I are going to go through the collection together. He had mentioned to me when he first came on board and looked at the collection, he said, oh, there's a lot of this stuff that I would circulate. And I said, okay, but, let me know because you're the reference librarian. But he's got a lot of stuff on his plate right now.
Right.
So,
My question wasn't really to that point. My question
sorry.
was, I wasn't clear.
Yeah.
In a piece of fiction I recently read about someone who they got access to those types of things that, like you're doing a research
Yeah.
project or you're a historian, you have access to them in a different way.
Yep.
So I assumed we could do that. I was
You-
just curious.
they're all in the catalog. So if you know what you're looking for, obviously you'll find it in the catalog. It'll say, non-circulating, and you ask the staff to get it for you, and you can look at it in the building. If you don't know what you're looking for, you can, ask the staff, can I browse? And then it's just a matter of going in the room, or, if you are browsing because some of them are, those cases are locked,
Right.
then you would have to come get the staff and say, can you open this for me so I can look at it? The oversized items are in my office,
Mhm.
and that's the part that, I'm not terribly happy about that because nobody knows.
Right.
You have to know that it's in the catalog and then go get it, or you have to ask the staff, and the staff know what's in my office, but we don't have oversized shelves because we have the seismograph, and we couldn't fit, once we had the seismograph installed, we couldn't, because that's.
Only so
that-
many places to put stuff.
Yes. Yep, so, but yep,
thanks.
you can look at them in the building, sometime next year. Brenda will sit down and we'll decide, which ones can be circulated and which ones really should stay behind glass. Any other questions about this document?
Now, these
Well, I have a
aren't
comment
connected,
about it.
they're two separate. I
They're
assume.
two separate, but they need to work together.
We
Yes,
have to
but, yeah.
vote on this, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. There's one part I have an exception with.
Okay.
So, D, number 3, the way that's worded,
D3?
D3,
Oh, okay. Yep.
works which are obviously, put my glasses back, works which are obviously and exclusively created for pornographic or sensational purposes will not be selected. Objectionable language and vivid descriptions of sex and violence when dealt with realistically within the context of the work will not be criteria for rejecting. Within the context of the work will not be criteria for rejecting the title. Now, I'm just, based on that, I'm thinking 50 Shades of Grey.
Yep.
It's a best-selling book. Would that fall into this, or would that be excluded because of I mean, 50 Shades of Grey is definitely what a lot of people consider pornographic, based on, because it's a whole novel about sex.
I haven't read it.
I've never read it either, but I know the concept of what it's about,
It's
so.
a love story.
I,
It is.
It's pretty graphic, but it's,
Well, it's,
you know.
I didn't think it was terrible.
I think, you know,
Just wondering, you know, based on
Hard to
how this is
describe.
phrased, that's
It
a
is a love
best-selling
story.
novel.
yeah.
I think if I were interpreting what, you know,
Right.
what is pornographic, pornographic has a specific legal definition. So, you know, if it's, I don't even know what the word is for, you know, if it's, you know, you have to look at what's obscene, and there's a legal definition to, you know, that has to be defined legally in terms of what is obscene. And then pornographic, the definition is also, it has to be legally defined. So if it's something that's,
Does the document have to define what those terms mean then?
no, because that's by law how it's defined.
Okay.
But like, if it's,
I'd be curious.
vulgar, I mean, you know, if it's, like really offensive,
Violent?
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, something that was created just to, you know, spark a certain reaction.
'Cause I
And,
mean, we had patrons that were offended over the book covers in the past. That
oh
they
yeah,
considered offensive.
sure,
So I'm just, based on the way this is worded.
I know, but there's,
How would we define the line there?
there's still a narrative story. You know, there's still a story with characters, and we can debate how fully developed they are, you know, but if it's different than, you know, I don't have an example for you that's like
Good example.
pure smut, but, you know,
Well, if somebody requested the library carry a art book about Maplethorpe, because I know he was the one that got brought to court because his art was extreme.
Yep.
So
We
I'm
probably
just
have the
wondering, How
book.
do we define?
we would probably have the book. Because, well, see, that's the thing. To kind of like put that question on hold for a minute, because when you look at this document, that's why they have to go
Right.
together. You know, if someone is saying, I don't think you should have, for example, 50 Shades of Grey in the library, then the person who's challenging that material, the fact that it's in the collection, has to fill out this document, and they're, you know, did you read it?
Right.
You know, did you read the whole thing, or are you just objecting to
What
this?
about the other way around, if somebody wants, with the Maplethorpe
Yeah.
book?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the staff originally looked at it and said, well, that's too extreme. This is for removal, right? This form wouldn't cover if somebody wants something in the library.
I think let's look at this from a different angle. 50 Shades of Grey, you know, is popular. It's a popular material. If we did not have it,
Right. Right, there's gonna be a lot of people wanting it.
there's going to be a lot of people wanting it, but we wouldn't be appearing as a popular library, as a library that knows what's hot, knows what's popular, knows what our people want, and getting it. You know, so I think it's different than to say, let's start collecting. I don't have an example. Like, okay, just for the sake of argument, let's start having, you know, XXX movies in the library. You know, let's really start having, you know, porn where it's that kind of joke where the pizza guy shows up at the door, but he really doesn't have any pizza. You know, and there's no plot, there's no character development, there's no point to this. The point is just for this excitement of whatever you do when you're watching a porn movie. You know what I mean?
For sensational purposes.
Thank you, that's the word I'm
There
looking
you
for.
go,
For just pure
sensational.
sensational whatever.
Right.
You know, that's not what our community is interested in. You know, if someone wants to do that in their private thing, go for it. But, you know, in terms of what's the best use of tax money, you're going to go for maybe the broadest.
Right, yeah, and I'm thinking
sure.
more of the more popular, like the 50 Shades of Grey. I'm just making sure that it doesn't get caught up in this definition.
I don't think any of it, well, you know, I mean, the previous wording
Right.
which I don't know if you have it in your, okay, so just to show you why you don't have it, these were the versions that we were working on, way too long for you guys. So I thought, no, I want it to be clear clear for you, so this is the final, but this is the working project,
Way too long for
document.
us or way too long for the patrons?
Huh?
Or all?
Everybody.
Okay, got it.
What?
Then it's way too long for the community, not
It would have
specifically
been too confusing.
individuals.
It would just be too confusing for you. Not that it's a thing on your, not that I'm commenting on your intelligence or anything. It's just, this was marked up so much with so many comments. It was challenging enough for us to keep track of. But the original statement on that number, on number 3, was titles which are obviously and exclusively written for pornographic or sensational purposes will not be selected. However, objectionable language and vivid descriptions of sex and violence, when dealt with realistically within the context of the book, will not be criteria for rejecting the book. So I've never had a pizza guy show up at my house. It's not realistic. I think, see, but that's why you have to take the whole work. You have to take it as a whole, and you can't take it for just like one scene, or it's really has to be taken in its context. And I think the other thing that we measure is the popularity. If it was truly offensive, material, it would not have sold. And I think it's a case by case. When they look at when the librarians who are selecting, they look at it on a case by case. We did have a couple years ago. We bought a DVD, movie. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it had won an award, international. It was a foreign movie, won an award, but someone checked it out and said, "This is disgusting." Whatever it was the content, it was a sexual, had some sex scenes or something, which the patron found objectionable. But it's like, okay, but this won an award, so then we have to kind of sit down and go, how do we look at materials? Because we can't view them before we buy them. We can read reviews, and we try and read a lot of reviews that are professional reviews. But if something's won an award, there has to be some artistic merit. So there's a lot, it's very complicated, and there's a lot that we have to weigh. And then, you try and be as professionally objective as possible, but each librarian who comes in and touches the collection, they have a little different spin on it. So we do the best we can. We try to respond to what the community likes to have. We want to make the best use of the money. Tends to be mainstream. Honestly, so if 50 Shades of Grey is now mainstream, okay, we're going to have it. I don't think we're going to have some little weird, I don't want to say weird, 'cause I shouldn't say weird, but
The weird's
something-
not on here.
no, but something that's, I don't have vocabulary for this stuff, because I'm really, super duper innocent, and no, I'm not. I just don't have the kind of vocabulary to describe stuff that we just don't collect.
Like I said, my mind's
yeah,
going
I
to all
understand.
like rap music. And there's a population that likes rap.
Sure.
So we block the CDs from being in the library, because some of the rap CDs are.
Oh, sure.
They're playing out pornographic music, but there's a popular group that of people that like them.
Sure.
They're very popular. They sell a lot of albums.
Okay, so
So-
then that's now, how is, I suppose you could take a step back and think, how is the culture changing?
Yeah.
We want to be on the cutting edge in terms of what our patrons want, and we want to have it even though they don't know they want it. And they go, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I wanted. At the same time, we want to have the balance of all the, classics. We want to have a rounded collection. It's a challenge. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But, with, 4 of us, in terms of the librarians working on it, 5 of us working on it. Also, we did look at some other libraries' policies and took some language, from Amherst, and there was a library in Illinois that Emily found some language she really likes. So I'm very confident that the department heads did a lot of extra research, just looking, for what's the exact best wording. I was really impressed that they wanted to, just as an example, they wanted to not say author. They wanted to say creator, and they felt that creator was more inclusive language. Yeah, and that's kind of along the lines of what we want to do in the ALA and the American Library Association is just to be a little more, or maybe a little less siloed with our language. And
Oh, plus you,
So I thought that was
well,
great.
the example on
Mhm.
the request for reconsideration form is creator is author, presenter, director, like whoever made the, whatever
Right,
it is.
yeah.
and this could be a challenge to a program, a program presenter.
Uh-huh.
That's
I
what-
guess when you look at the range of materials at library, authors are books.
Yep.
And you have CDs and DVDs, and
Mhm.
so creator, I guess, is a more inclusive term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so I was pleased that they were, really on point.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's a good document.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Anything else, any other discussion on this document? So,
Okay, so do you want to do them one at a time, or are they kind of, okay.
so I move that we accept the policy on collection, we accept the collection, I'm getting tired, development policy as written.
So we're doing both documents separate?
Yes.
Okay.
Is anybody going to second me?
Yes,
will.
I'll second.
Who- me-
I'll second. Janice will second.
Okay,
All in favor? Okay.
Sorry.
Now we've had just a couple comments on this one.
Yep.
And we'll vote on it.
What did you have comment? Me comment?
Yeah, the request for.
Okay, I'm
Is
sorry.
there anything else to say about this, or?
No, I mean, this, we tried to update it so that the person submitting this would know that the comments are public records, but that their personal information would be kept confidential. They thought that was very important to put in. Because when we get a form like this submitted, then you really need to have a committee. So it's pretty much the librarians, but then it would eventually come to you. So that would be discussed in public.
Has a form like this ever been used by anybody? No, it's never been.
No, I mean, we'll get verbal complaints.
But
But-
nothing's been formally
No.
submitted like
No.
this? Okay, but it's good to have in case.
You must have it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We handed this out.
Does anyone have any comments
Oh,
on?
yeah, this was on the table when we, were meeting that Sunday, because it was so big to put in, it was too big to put in the,
I don't know, I thought that was a strategic plan part.
It was
I thought this was,
strategic
oh, all
plan.
right.
Maybe because
this
it was
was off the
colored, I don't know.
website.
Okay.
I didn't print this off
These
the
two
website.
things,
She's
you
looking at
sent
the
them to
attachment,
us.
so
Yeah.
in Yvette's email, if she's not seeing
Yeah,
this
I'm
one,
like,
but it
where
was
is
there.
that?
I,
We're talking about the request for reconsideration of library resources. That's the document we're talking about.
But I would not have printed this out in color. I don't have access to be able to do that.
I always print your packet,
Oh, okay.
so that's why it's there.
Don't pay attention to me, Janet.
But I printed.
No, but I emailed it to you.
Yeah,
Have
you did,
Do you,
Okay. Because
do
I
you
always
want to
print
see
out
what
what I.
this is?
just in case, yeah.
Well, I have to put the packet together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can move along. Does anybody
had
have
some
any
scrap
questions
paper.
about this?
No, I think it's good.
Okay.
So we need
So-
some,
I move that we accept the request for reconsideration of library resources document as written, as part of our policies.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor? Okay,
I'm abstaining because.
thank you, I'm sorry.
Do you wanna,
It's okay.
Okay,
401?
Okay.
is there anything else anyone would like to bring up at this time? Any of the trustees, Yvette, anything?
No, I just have the non-public,
Okay,
and then your calendar.
okay.
You wanna go over that?
So nothing else, then, our calendar, March 21st, the joint Board Officers Meeting will be held at the library. On the 25th, which is next Monday, at 7 PM, the Friends of the Library will be meeting at the library. On the 26th, from 6:30 to 8:30, there is a right to know training at Derry Municipal Center. On March 26th at 7 PM, there is a program on the secret life of library books about cataloging. On April 7th through 13th is National Library Week. April 9, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is the annual meeting. Part 2 of 2.
Yes, we have,
It's
we're in
deliberative
SB two
session.
towns.
Oh,
we have
that,
town
okay. that's right.
Deliberative and
Okay,
voting.
I was thinking of the voting day. Election Day, April 16th at 7 p.m. Town Hall, Merrimack Memorial Room. Right here, the board will be meeting again. April 30th at 8:30, the staff meeting craze training.
That's the
Great.
police emergency
Oh,
training.
okay. And introduction to trustees, May 3rd at 10:30 a.m., the Whipple Free Library, New Boston, Hillstown meeting. Presenting on the fundraiser for Baker Free Library's renovation. And if the development fund meets, then that meeting time will be announced.
So I can just explain a little bit about the May 3rd.
Would you please?
It is out in the future, but at our last Hillstown meeting, when we set this topic, Lori Fisher is going to be, she's the director of the Baker Free Library in Bow, and they renovated their lower basement, into several meeting rooms. And how it was funded, it was 50-50. So 50% was raised, 50% was donated. Or 50% was municipal, 50% was donated and raised. So she was willing to present to the group, and it was suggested that we invite, other staff, trustees, any other stakeholders that would want to hear their presentation, of how they did it. So that's why it's there if you want to make it.
Okay, great, thank you. Any comments on the calendar? Anything else? Okay, any comments from the press, public, or other board members at this time? No? Okay. We are going to go into a non-public session.
Do the roll call vote.
Yes.
To come out of.
Who,
To go into
Who-
non-public.
Going to go
Okay,
into
so are you-
non-public.
who moves?
So what,
Somebody has to move to go into non-public
we
session.
need to do a roll call. So,
I move that we move into non-public. Per RSA 91-A:3,
Okay, call
Yeah.
three.
so I'd like,
2A.
we do a roll call?
Wait, somebody has to.
Second.
Rick
Second. Rick
Yeah,
did?
seconded.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
sorry, I thought you did.
Okay,
Okay.
roll call.
Aye.
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 Do we want to take 5 minutes and see if he could turn off the,
We can step into the other room.
okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we've done that, haven't we?
We can step into the hall.
Oh, yikes.
everything on what the minutes. I'll show you some heights.
Absolutely.
A motion to come out of non-public.
Okay, wait a second, because I closed this by accident, so now I just have to get.
No, we're coming out of non-public. Vote to come
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, we have to say that in the thing. Oh,
No,
we have to
we're
roll
still in
call.
non-public until we vote to come out of it. So turn off your mic until we're technically out of non-public. Non-public, and we can turn our mics back on.
So we just came out of our non-public meeting, and I've lost my agenda. There's no more to the agenda. We're ready to adjourn.
Well, I just wanted to say
Yes.
one thing real quick.
Yes, please?
Since this is my last meeting, I wanted to
Oh,
thank
that's
everybody.
right.
And thank the voters, and just go on record that I enjoyed the 2 terms that I served as trustee, and I definitely, this was the most fun board of all the town committees and boards that I've served on. This has been the most fun.
Okay, well, thank you, Rick.
Yes,
You've
thank you.
served the library trustees well and the library well, and we will miss having you on the board. So, okay. Any other comments from the
Press and public.
oh dear. Press, public or board members? No more comments? Okay, I move we adjourn.
I want to make the final motion.
Oh,
Wait, no, we haven't, we have one more thing to do, don't we? We have to set the date. Okay,
afterwards.
all right.
Yes,
I make the motion to adjourn.
I second. We adjourn at 9:08.
Now, is there a little certificate that goes with your
My final
making
motion.
the final motion?
Everybody turn off your mics.
Yeah. Turn off your mic. The budget